In this presentation, we will look at project planning. Here is a famous saying: if you don't know where you are, a map won't help you. If you don't know where you are going, you will end up someplace else. Before we start, I will first introduce myself. Hey, this is Amy Law, your presenter. I have been working in IT for over 20 years in pipelines, energy regulator, oil and gas, utilities, transportations, and telecommunications. I have managed projects for over 15 years in IT applications and infrastructure, system and data migration, cybersecurity, ECM, SAP, process improvement, and office facilities. In terms of education, I completed bachelor and master in computer science from the University of Calgary. I received my PMP in 2006. I also completed certifications in project management, change management, ISO 27001, information security management system, and ITIL. To develop a project schedule, we can take a bottom-up approach. We can consolidate all work packages with respect to the activity's dependencies. Next, we identify due date for each activity and work package. Based on the sequence of activities, we can identify a critical path. The critical path is the longest distance between the start and the finish. Once the critical path is determined, we will have a clear picture of the project's actual schedule. We can identify the optimal sequence and arrange the sequence of activities to avoid bottlenecks. For example, we can determine how many days can an activity slip without affecting the completion date. How much time can an activity be delayed until it affects the entire project? After the project schedule is developed, we analyze the schedule to allocate appropriate resources. We also take actions to address schedule risk and issues. Remember to keep in mind our business benefit. In project management, float, also known as slack, is the amount of time an activity can be delayed without impacting subsequent activities or the overall project completion. The total float is equal to the late date minus early date. To address schedule risk and issue, we can consider concurrent activities. As such, the project is not executed sequentially. However, this could introduce new challenges, such as managing team communication to understand how activities would be executed in parallel, balancing the workload, and implementing the parallel activities correctly. Another consideration is to include additional resources or outsourcing. However, there is a point of diminishing returns because the marginal incremental throughput could reduce even when we put more resources to do the work. There is a saying, too many cooks in the kitchen. There is always a possibility to fine-tune strategy and add contingencies to address schedule risk and issues. Project schedule can help us to analyze resource usage. We can use software like Microsoft Project to examine resource allocations. We can adjust project plan according to resource leveling. The objective of resource leveling is to structure activities in a project to optimize the resource usage so that none of the activities are blocked by a lack of resources. The resource analysis heavily relies on personal judgment and experience. In order to analyze resource usage, we have to be visible to all projects' schedules to understand how the resources are assigned to multiple projects. We also need to understand internal resourcing process. One of my clients has a centralized resource manager to assign appropriate resources to projects. The advantage of having the centralized resource management is the visibility on where the resources are assigned, the ability to fully utilize the resources across multiple projects, and the preparation to handle resource scalability in a portfolio. We make the assumption that we always include buffers to our estimate. We justify the buffers through project risk analysis. The buffers are known as contingency. Typically, what we can do is to request for a high contingency, say 25% in the early project cycle, like project initiation and planning. At the early project cycle, there are many unknowns impacting the estimate. A high contingency can be used to uncover the unknowns. Then we can reduce the contingency to 20% in the later project cycle because uncertainty has reduced as we progress into project execution. Finally, we can further reduce the contingency to 5% by the end of the project cycle. The only remaining items at the project closure is the final operational transition and change reinforcement. Therefore, the chance of running over the budget is unlikely. A Gantt chart is a project management tool assisting in the planning and scheduling of projects of all sizes. It is particularly useful for simplifying complex projects. The benefit of the Gantt chart include the visual representation on project timeline, leading to the ease of understanding on critical path, project hierarchy showing work breakdown structure, and tabulated format, summarizing large amount of information. However, the Gantt chart cannot show the project logic, especially on a highly complicated projects. It can quickly become overloaded with links, multiple columns, and details. Here is an example of a Gantt chart. It has project activities and work packages. It has the proposed start date and target end date of each activity and work package. The start dates and end dates are driven by duration and dependency. The activity dependency is associated to ID and relationship between activities, such as finish to start, start to start, start to finish, and finish to finish. The Gantt chart has the resources assigned to do each activity. It has the graphical monthly forecast and quarterly forecast. With the Microsoft Project software, we can change the configuration so that we can show arrows for dependency between activities. If a duration is 0, then the activity becomes a milestone and it is illustrated as a diamond on the graph. Last but not least, we can add resource percentage commitment as part of the resource leveling. Here are the duration dependency. Finish to start is a logical relationship in which a successor activity cannot start until a predecessor activity has finished. This is considered a natural dependency. Start to start is a logical relationship in which a successor activity cannot start until a predecessor activity has started. Start to finished is a logical relationship in which a successor activity cannot finish until a predecessor activity has started. Finished to finished is a logical relationship in which a successor activity cannot finish until a predecessor activity has finished. Project budget is another detailed project planning. We estimate budget forecast based on resources and their work effort. We include other cost elements like project management, organizational change management, hardware purchase, software purchase, and expenses like resource traveling and milestone celebrations. To address risk, we consider to add appropriate contingency, like 25% at the beginning of the project. Finally, we categorize budget into capital and expense for accounting purposes. The project budget should be created with a baseline at the time when the project is approved. It should be closely monitored to record the actuals, accruals, and latest forecast on a monthly basis. This enables the sponsors and key stakeholders to understand the money spent, estimate to complete, and estimate at completion throughout the project. Here is an example of project budget summary. On the left, this table shows the project budget in different categories, including internal labor, external labor, vendor, software, hardware, training, and expense. In this case, project management and organizational change management are considered as labor. This table includes a division of budget between capital and expense. On the top, the table has an initial approved budget, change request, total approved budget, actual spends, estimate to complete, estimate at completion, and variance. Last but not least, a separate table at the bottom shows the annual maintenance for the new software, hardware, and operational support cost. Here is an example of project budget tracking sheet. On the left, this table shows the project budget in different categories, including internal labor, external labor, vendor, software, hardware, training, and expense. On the top, the table has estimated effort per month and estimated budget forecast per month for each resource. The total budget per resource is available. The total budget per category is also available. The consolidation of this budget for all categories become the total budget for the project. This budget tracking sheet should be closely monitored on a monthly basis to record the actuals, accruals, and latest forecasts. We can establish a project baseline after we have developed the project schedule and budget using all work package plans, contingency, and support from work package leaders. The baseline will be shared with the sponsors and key stakeholders. We can convert time and budget baseline to clear, measurable performance objectives and determine driving factors. The baseline should be approved by functional managers and sponsors. Should there be any changes later on in the project, the baseline shall be adjusted after approval to the change request. Once the project baseline is established, we can finalize the project management plan. This includes all organizational relationships involved in the project and impacted by the project. This also includes reporting relationship. Due to resource constraints, we always need to define project priority and driving factors. To ensure proper changes and acceptance will take place, we need to establish a solid communication plan and provide a change control definition and process. Last but not least, the project management plan requires a final approval and sign-off. In summary, the project management plan includes work breakdown structure, which refers to the what the project will do. The project management plan also includes work package plans, which refer to how the project will complete. Each work package plan includes all activities for the work package, resources involved in the work package, and associated dependency, duration, effort, labor rate, and other non-labor expenses. Next, we have the Gantt chart and the critical path. This is a part of the project schedule. With the resourcing and schedule, we develop project budget. All of this information build project baseline and eventually seeking approvals from key stakeholders and sponsors. After project charter is approved, the next step is to kick off the project. This is usually done through a project kick-off presentation. In the presentation, the project manager and sponsor would present the charter, which includes corporate purpose and benefit, project objectives and strategies, and major milestones and deliverables. They present the work breakdown structure, which is a skeleton for the entire project management plan. They also present the project schedule. In some cases, they include a high-level budget review. Last but not least, they present the communications plan and RACI. Project kickoff agenda typically includes introduction like project team and background, project charter, preliminary scope statement review, planning output, roles and responsibility, and schedule planning. The objective of the project kickoff is to communicate with the key stakeholders, mobilize team to start the project work, allow project sponsor, champion, and project manager to present project charter for discussion and comment, and determine next steps. Thank you very much for your time. Please contact me for additional project management templates and samples. Here's my contact information.